Hi, Bo here from High Tech Investment, and welcome back to the channel where today we're going to talk about how to ride the money wave. What are we talking about here? Well, this is the third in a series here now about how to set up your EAs, or if you are a copy link trader instead, then how we do it for you. So at least you also have some confidence that we have actually done our work behind the scenes here to make sure that when you are setting up your accounts, so basically trading our EAs, you have a very good idea, you have a very good feeling exactly what is going on, what kind of risks that we are actually taking, and hopefully also we're going to make you a good profit at the same time. So the important part is here now that this is the third in a series. The other two you'll find on the screen right here. The first one was actually the Forex grid trading explained. Second one here, we went in on the gap and lot size hacks. These are the basic settings for all the grid trading EAs. You can use them on the ones we have on the screen here already, such as the Profit Retriever, which is quite a few years old, Wave Liberator, as we're going to follow through today, the RSI Liberator, we have the Lucky Trader and the Bell Trader, and also now here the new Simple Grid Trader. So both generation 3 and now generation 4 is out. All of these basically go on the same principles, and that's what this series is all about from start to finish. How do we do this? How do we get the best out of it? And we are now in a position here after we have basically safely secured exactly what kind of grid size we need, what kind of lot size we need. And then now it's all about from there on getting the profits. So obviously we have given you some details and even 28 currency pairs in the past videos, how we set them up, what are the numbers, how we divide it down, and then also why at the end of the day they are not so risky. Obviously there's a big difference in between all 28 currency pairs. We go through that in the videos, and that is very, very important together with the tools that we have also provided for you up until now. So you can see yourself what is safe trading, what is not, what has been taken into consideration for every single one of our EAs. So obviously this is something you can do yourself. So this is both a tutorial for how to set it up. It is also a good information for the traders / investors that go directly to the copy link service. We want to make sure that we're open, transparent, exactly how we do things. And this time around, it is basically the Wave Liberator we're going to focus on in here. We're going to focus on exactly what to backtest, because obviously there's a lot of settings. Most of the settings, based on the videos that I've actually done in here, they show you now that there's very few options left, and also how to backtest. So how many things do you backtest at the same time? Which ones goes together first? Which ones comes last? All of this is actually covered in this particular video in here. So hopefully you'll also get the most out of it. And also you have to watch the video all the way to the end, not just because it will be good for the YouTube algorithm. No, there's a lot of details in here. You need to have the right tools to test. You need to make sure you have all these things set up. If you miss a step in here, the chances actually that you might get good results, but you're still not getting the stable results that you want to have on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, and even yearly basis. So these extra tools that you need in order to do now the backtesting in here, and also having a look, having the vision to see which ones are the stable ones, and which ones are the ones that can work in different environments. All of this we're going to go through here today, but it is crucial and essential that you have a look through the entire video, not to skip a beat, because otherwise you could have some seriously different results from what actually we have here today. So what are we talking about here? Well, this is the profits for the Wave Liberator for the month of April. These are the top 5 EAs that we have in here, and they did actually quite well. So April was a very good month. There was a lot of fluctuation in here, but both we have the profits that is obviously very nice and well above what we are normally saying. We are saying somewhere between 8 and 12%. We're quite happy with that per month. Clearly 28, 23 and an average of 22% here on these set up $1,000 accounts is massive. but there will be other months where things are actually slowing down, especially normally when it comes around the summer months. Last year in 2024, that was not the case, but let's see what's going to happen here today. There is certainly a lot of uncertainty, especially around the US, that can affect the rest of the currency pairs in here too. So we are focused on here now. We have the safety in place from the first two videos. Now it's all about increasing the profit, getting the good results, but more importantly, the stable results. So with many EAs, there's a lot of settings and getting into the swing of the EA, understanding how the robot actually works, what data actually needs to be put in. Well, you see some of the items on the screen here, different type of numbers, meaning different things, obviously. And then that is where you're going to have to try and find the magic numbers in here. We are not looking for last week lotto numbers because they have gone, they have passed. We are looking for some good stable numbers that will actually create maybe not a millionaire over time, but definitely cashing in every single week. And that's what we're doing here today, going through the numbers, telling you exactly what's important, what's not. We're going to use the Wave Forex Liberator version 6, as you see here. This is the latest one from Expert Forex and EA Factory, and that has worked quite well for a long time. Originally, this was the profit retriever. Then there was some changes into this, and that now means that the Forex Liberator in here, it has a way of entering into the trades. It has a way of actually taking care of the trades with the grid sizes, because this was, as I mentioned, a grid sizing robot, and it also has a way of getting out of them again, and that is everything that we're going to cover in this video here today. So again, you add it into the charts. I'm not adding this one in that particular video here today. I have tutorials on that, but you basically initiate a live trading, put in your TDL imports and also external experts. And then we're going to break it down in a bit more detail because we are just taking care of what you have in the red square here today. Some of the things is actually given already. And if we have a closer look at what exactly is given, then this is what we have gone through, what has been highlighted in yellow here. All these items you can actually set up before you even backtest, because this is your risk analysis that was done in the first and the second video of this particular series in here. So the gap size, so basically what currency pair are you looking for? You know the gap size based on what you have basically put in. And then you also have the gap scaling start. We start with 1. You have gap scaling rates in here, and for all of them it's also 120 over the line. You can go obviously and have a look, but you'll see that a lot of them end somewhere between 110 and 130. And then obviously they also have to match. So we need to have a look regarding the lot size in here. And again, that depends on what type of account you have. In this particular case here, we use normally 0.03 lot for a $1,000 account, but have to go back to video 1 and 2 because there is differences in how it works and what is the drawdown based on some of the currency pairs in here. That is what those videos was all about. And then from there on, you set up your lot multiplier in here. And again, you can most probably use 1-to-1, but we like to use just a higher one, so it actually increases slowly. And normally it's used to 1.1. And that also means that we will keep the drawdown still under control, and at the same time we'll cash in a bit earlier. So that is very important. That's what all our test results work, not just for the Forex Wave Liberator in here, but also for the other EAs. This is the best way to go. So these are now standardized numbers with us, so that we constantly obviously check to see if they are still valid. The other part is the green ones you have in here. You can also set those up straight away, allow buy and sell. We actually do both buy and sell at the same time, always. And then we have the portfolio re-entry after closure, and that we have as re-entry allowed. On the new versions, we also have the start pruning, basically getting rid of some of the trades. But you saw earlier on here that we have about 10 grid sizes. So based on, again, video 1 and 2 in here. So that means we don't want to have it above 10. We don't want to have it as low as 4 or 5, because at the end of the day, if we do that much pruning, that also means that it takes longer to get out of the eventual trade. So it has to do a lot more movements. We have kept it at 8. We don't really want to have too much pruning, but if the market moves that much, then at least we still have 8 trades open. That gives the EA a very good chance of actually recovering very, very quickly. It's about how much the price has to retrace, if it's going to be 60% or if it's going to be 40, obviously a big chance, and then it'll start again cashing in for you for the next series. So the first things we're going to have a look at here is actually what I have put in the box. And if we have a look at it, you can see the value we have. That is actually what the EA is set to at the moment. Same as trigger direction. So, and then we have the look back bars, and this is used for entry. So basically start of any trade. So we use that particular number in here. And then we have the price cap that we have set, all bending on the currency pair that we are using. But in this particular case, we want to backtest everything. We now want to run the numbers, and we use those 3 together because that has an impact on which direction we are going. So if it's the same or reverse. So what we do is basically trigger in here, same as trigger direction, and then in steps, we don't have any steps, there's only 2 here. The other one is reverse. So we are checking both ways of how this operates. And then we go at the look back bars. We start at 2. We have steps of 2. And then we have also our experience showing that nothing happens over 120 most of the time. So we leave it within that. Obviously, otherwise there will also be too many test results coming back to us. But we are quite happy keeping it like that, because the higher the number you have in here at the end of the day, you will also have less trading. And we'll look at that when we see the results here a bit later. Then we have the price gap. Normally the price gap, you don't have to change that one. So we just keep it the same from time to time. What we'll do is we're going to have a look. We don't go lower, so we'll go same level, 2 steps, and then go 10 up. So you can do that also. It gives you a few more options. If you just take the 2 direction and the look back bars, well, you will normally get around 120. So different selections from the tester in here. So that doesn't take too long actually to compute. But if you want to also put those in here, I believe we normally get to around 400, and that could take a bit longer, especially the way that we are using the data. It could take an overnight to have all these details here in place. And I will explain to you also why that is, because we have to use tick data. Tick data is a lot slower than what we otherwise would see. So for the ones that wants to do their own testing in here, when you are setting up the strategy tester in here, so the idea is normally you put in whatever account that you want to trade on. In this particular case, it could be $1,000, could be 10,000. We want to make sure that we have both the long and short position covered in here. Optimizing parameters, we normally just keep it at the standard balance. And then genetic error algorithm, we don't use that one. Basically what that means is that the system itself will go in and pick what they believe are the best ones. So this, however, and that's why I wrote in here for the first time testing, you can actually click and use the generic algorithm because it will make things faster. Instead of trying 10,000 different selections, you might only go through a couple of thousand. That will obviously speed the process up, but you might also lose some overview and some good results in here. I suggest you only use it the first time if you are testing this out yourself. It gets you started, at least finding some reasonable settings that you can then work on from there on. So important, but definitely something that I don't want to use. I rather want to take the time that comes in here. Now I've broken up the tester so we can have everything on the screen at the same time in here. So the expert advisor, you basically set up again. So we want to test the Wave Forex Liberator in here. You change your symbols, so whichever that you have, if it's New Zealand USD as you have here, if it's Japanese or something else, you simply just swap them over in here. We use what they called also here model every tick in here, and this is actually quite important. This is this little fella down here, so this is the best data. It's not the broker data, it is actually bought data that you have to get a subscription on. I will make sure that there's a link in it, because without this particular one, I can tell you, you're never going to get any good results. And I did warn you about that earlier on. So this is absolutely crucial. You need 99.9% good tick data. You will never get that from your broker. So make sure you have this one in place. And at the same time, you also have to use a date, start finishing dates. And obviously, we try to keep that between 6 and 8 months all the time. It doesn't matter too much for us to have a whole year, because we know there will be 4 or 5 big changes every single year, sometimes even more, especially in 2025. It looks like we're going to go through a lot of ups and downs. And we rather want to just be so in the last 6 months in here, where we can see how the development is. So tick data is here. I mentioned that you use it. And then we have periods of 15 minutes. We have a spread of 5 that we normally use. And then you keep your optimization on. Now, I have to tell you also that the important part and where we're doing testing is we're actually using what is called here also the VPS Forex Trader. So this is a VPS that makes sure that you have the absolute best internet connection, and you also have 24/7 power. So no power outage, no nothing. Everything is completely backed up. So you might not need that for the back testing, but you certainly need that for your trading. I'll make sure to leave also a link in the description below, because without that data, and we also run the test on the same servers as we trade to make sure that we have all the details exactly lined up, so there is no miss in here. The last part is obviously once you go live on your trading, so it might be because we have different demo testing in here to make sure that it works on one, it works on the other one. We have IG demos in here, we have Black Bull demos, but on some of our live trading, we prefer to use one of the best brokers that we have now worked with for 5 years. That is the IC Market Global. They are really good. And together also with Black Bull, I'll make sure that both of the links are below, but you are getting your money out, and it doesn't happen so in 2 or 3 weeks. No, it actually happens normally over a couple of days. They are very, very fast. You can even swap, obviously, also the money from one account to another one. So all of this works really, really well. So you need to have all these different tools combined in there. And then when you have the test, the results, then obviously you also need to execute with real live money. And that takes a regulated broker, something like Black Bull or IC Markets. I can definitely recommend them in here based on my prior experience. As I said, with IC Markets, Black Bull I've been with for about a year now here, and they are also paying out. So, and it's very easy for a lot of traders to get into some of these brokerage. So once your test has done on the MT4 platform, what you normally do is you basically copy it over, and we do that for all our EAs again in here. We copy all the data in here. This section is basically the runs. So that means that amount of runs that we have. This is the 65th run and 67th. The C section here now is the profit that has come back on the testing itself. On the other side here with the G, this is all the drawdowns that we have incurred. And then here we have the trade direction that we tested. We also have the look back bars. And the first thing we actually do, which I have covered in previous tutorials, we're going to add a little extra column in here because we want to see the difference. And if I just do this, we will basically divide up the drawdown versus the profit. So we want to have the best drawdown versus profit factor in here. And as we do this, you'll notice you get 18.60% in here. We then apply it to all the other settings here also, and then we sort it in here with the data to make sure that the lowest one is on top. So at least we get some of the best results to start with, but our work is certainly not over yet, because most people would normally just pick one of the top ones in here, and by far that's not always how it actually goes. You need to look for patterns in here. So one of the patterns, for example, is you can see you have two and they have to be next to each other. Don't forget that we had a step of two. So in this particular case here, we are very, very lucky that we have, let's give that a color in here. We can give it an orange color. Then we'll see if there's other ones in here. We have another 64. So there's actually 3. So these are the trade directions. 0 actually means same as the trend. And then we have 64, 66, and 68 in here. So this is a good part. And then you can start looking for other ones down here. Now I have cheated a bit. So there's a couple of patterns in here. It's almost like an IQ test. And one of the things that we can do when we look at them is, you can see there's a little pattern in here. We even found also a 70 on the orange part. So that means 64, 66, 68, and 70. And if we only have 4, then I suggest you do go with the ones in the middle. As there's 4, it's going to be either 66 or 68. And you can see they have extremely low drawdown for $1,000 accounts. They're almost making 700 in here, but we're going to go further down. So the next one here we find is 116 for the look back bar, 118 and 120. So again, the numbers here, profits is a lot lower. So they're in the 400 range mark. And the reason for that particular one, well, remember these ones here had 200 trades. So these are the trade numbers in here. These are the trade numbers. So the higher the look back bar, the further back they have to go, the less trading. So that is only 130, also 130, 137 in here. So again, that gives you less trading. And in this particular case here, you still have some extremely good drawdowns. They are below actually 100. So if you want to be the safe kind, that is the way to go. But you're also getting away a lot of profits. And you can obviously say, well, then we're just going to increase the lot size. But if you look at my 2 other videos, you'll then notice that your basically risk, if you increase the lot size in here, you will actually run out of money a lot quicker. So again, don't forget, this is not one trade. A grid trading could be something like 5, 6, 7, or even 8 trades opened at the same time. And if you increase your lot size and basically add another 50% to the lot size, that's going to mean a lot more at grid level 8. So don't do that. So what we can do is we can go for more patterns, and we see some in here, look back bars. So these are low ones. You will see also there's a lot of trades. So the 61 is 342. So that obviously looks quite well, has a very high profit. And most people will probably take that without having a look at the drawdown. So the drawdown here is actually also a lot higher, and it's more than double from what you saw up here. So again, be careful, be aware of the numbers. That is also because of the higher drawdown in here that you have a factor of 27% versus 18 or 19% up here. But again, you have 18, you have 20 on the look back bar. So it has 20 we have here, 22 we have there, and then it goes 24 and 26 in here. So it goes all the way up to 30, 32, and 34 in here. And again, if you want to pick a safe bet, don't do it just because this one is on top. So rather want to do it again here to make sure that you are sort of in the middle if you can get to that particular point. Now, if that is 24, so be it. You'll still have a very good profit in here. You still have a good drawdown that doesn't break the piggy bank. So again, 24 in between what is 16 and what you end up with 34, well, that's pretty much the middle. You can obviously pick and choose either 1 or above, but don't get into, for example, 16, because if you get to 14 and anything in the market changes, you're going to lose out. Yeah, you're going to lose out on profit. Most probably you're also going to raise the drawdown. So in here again, pick which one you want. We believe that the green one here, for example, has 2 little profits in here. We can see that we have 4, so that is a good selection, basically 64 to 70. So you can pick one of those and say, well, okay, 60, so we either pick 68 or we pick 66. If you think that band is too narrow, you simply go down here and you pick instead the look back bar of 24. So it's entirely up to you how you want to run it. We obviously prefer normally to run the safer settings, so where you have a lot more indicators that even though that the market changes slightly, you will still be cashing in. But there's nothing wrong with either taking the orange up here. You'll even find some in the blue down here where you have 42, 44, 46. So again, if you do that, you pick that particular one in here. So take the middle road all the time. Don't look too much at the profit, because the profit will be different from what you see up here anyway. So once we pick the selection in here, it is time to go to the second part. And also here we only have 2, so it's very, very easy to actually set things up. We're gonna take profit in here. So, and that has been set last time at 58, but we are testing from 10, and this is in pips, as you can see, from 10 pips with a step of 2 all the way up to 70 in here. And then at the same time, so this take profit, that particular one is for the individual trades. So that means that once we have the first section down, the first open trade in here, then if that closes in positive, it will close at 58 pips. If it goes the other way, starting to basically make a series of entries, and we have the price going against us, then the second part actually comes in here. So this is for all the pairs, for the target, for all the open items. That could be anything from 2 up until 8 or 10, whatever your grid size will be. We hope that we can keep it within about 8 grids. And again, here it's currently set for 11. And we normally test, start at 5, and then with 1 pip in each, and then up to about 16. We'll find that normally the standard part will be 7. So this is also what this actually comes with. But sometimes, depending on the currency pairs in here, you can get a lot more money closing the items later. But again, don't use the outer edges. So it means don't use 16. But we're going to have a look and see if we can find a similar pattern also for these 2 testing results. So same as before, we now have all the data here again. We are looking at the take profit and we are looking at the close pips in here. And I've done our little calculations again, having it in here in between the drawdowns and then also the profits. So that means we have skipped a few things. So it's time again to have a look and see exactly where we can find the details in here. And you can already see we have a few that shows up. Now you can either go by the 10 pips here and see what is actually measuring up, 70, 68, 66. We normally like to do it the other way around instead. So we're actually going normally with the take profit and then see where that actually leaves us. You can see here 62 actually covers quite well, 5 pips, 6 and 7 pips. But let me paint the picture for you here. And this is actually how I do it and what I get out of it. So we are testing all the way up to 70. Now 62 is obviously a bit from 70, so that is actually a good start. It looks like the take profit has broken. So if you have taken 70, it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting more money out of it. We can also see that we have 3 70s, both for 10, 9 and 8, and even 7 down here. So it is high, and we don't want to go all the way to the edge of where we're testing. So we're going to have a closer look. We can see also the green one in here, 68 seems to be good, with again 10, 9, and 8 in here. We want to get a bit lower, so we don't want to wait too long either for everything to close. But at the same time, we still want to have a good percentage in between our drawdown and our profits. So we can see here that 66, also the blue ones, works with both 10, 9, 8, and 7 in here. And then that brings us down to, again, the 62 that we have. So obviously that is interesting. We even have 64 coming right before us. We can see that that actually covers also quite well. So even though this one is the best one, because we also need to have a look closer down, we can see some 56s, and if we scroll further, so there might also be, we have some 56s in here, and then it actually drops down to smaller take profits. But again, there's a lot of profits basically being left on the table, so we don't want to go there. One of the items could go to instead is either 62 or 64, which is a bit more in the middle of what we have in here. We have 5, 6, and 7. So either you go with the center one, and what I would do is either take this particular one in here, mark that one up and say, okay, these are our settings. And then the other one, you could go and say, well, okay, or 62 up here. There is small differences. Obviously, this one here creates a slightly higher profit, but again, this is looking back. And also here, this has pretty much similar drawdown, so that one is okay. But you constantly want to take the numbers sort of in between the middle all the time. So if something shifts or changes, you are still within that particular window. That is the important part. When you look at this, you look for the patterns. You make sure that you have numbers in take profit below, you have numbers above, and then you try and aim for the middle. Same things when you then run the second part for the closure of the pips. Also, don't go for the top one, go for the middle one, go for the ones that has a lot of entries that you can see is coming good over and over again. Again, here you have a lot of 6s in here, and you have 5s in here. You have a lot of 6s again for this particular one for both 70 or 68. So it means that that still works, even though you are just taking a profit of 64. So that is important also, that all the trades are actually closing. So you don't want to be hanging out there or missing the target at the end of the day. So this is, as I said, it's a bit of an IQ test. We use the colors that you can see here just to mark up the individual ones to find the middle section, not necessarily always the one that creates the biggest profits and the lowest drawdown, but one that can be giving a bit away on the profits, might have a same or slightly higher drawdown, but we can see that if something changes or shifts in the market, they will still be valid, they will still be cashing in without having tremendous drawdowns overall. So what I've shown you here today actually works as a twofold. Either you have now seen exactly how grid trading is actually working, you want to start it. You might have started it already, so at least I hope I've given you some ideas on how you can actually progress with all your grid trading EAs as it is. Or in our case, we have the coupling service, and if you think that this has been too difficult, too time consuming, then obviously that's where you need to go next. Now at least you have learned sort of the risk strategies that we have in here, the type of testing that we don't always go for the best profits, but we are looking for a bit more of a general system that we know will work also over different markets, and that is very important. So I'm going to show you here now exactly where you can find all the details so that you can get started with your coupling trading. You can still have some analyzing for yourself to do, and then also where you're going to link up. So we're going to jump straight over to the high-tech investment website. From the main page here, we basically click on the portfolio, and that will take you into the individual EAs where you can find some of the ones we've discussed here, the Simple Grid Trader, the Bill Trader. You'll find also the Lucky Trader. There's more details on the Expert Forex. And the one we're looking for here today is the Wave Liberator. So as you go in there, it'll give you some details, information, data on how exactly this particular works. This was also set up for FTMO trials. You can do that. And again, it all depends on the settings that we have analyzed in the first couple of videos in here. You can see some of the details we have. And also you can see the individual weekly results. And more importantly, you will also take note of the individual currency pairs that seems to be cashing in week after week. You have the videos that we have explained to you that these are very important. So this is the number 1 and the number 2 in the series. You are watching number 3. You'll find a lot more details also on how this was developed. And then we get to the individual months that we have. So at the moment, we always carry 4 months back. You can go and have a look, see which ones are the top 5s for every single month, similar to what we showed you in the beginning of this video. We have the entire portfolio in here showing you the profit and loss in here, the closed profits that we have. And at the moment, every single demo account has also been set up here. So they are running on $10,000 accounts. And that's because that's the only thing we could get at the time. But you can trade every single one based on the $1,000. That's how the settings are done. You simply click on these particular links in here, and then you can see the individual currency pairs. And it will also give you the details you'll see on the copy link service. Obviously, all of these ones here are. And then if you go and have a closer look at them, it can basically provide you all the details on the profits, the percentage, the drawdowns that it had over the entire time. The next part you have to do is go to the Expert Forex website. So we're going to head over there. So as we arrive, this is the main page. And from here on, you have a whole details of individual EAs. So are you interested in the individual EAs? Then that is the place to go. As you can see, these have gotten quite expensive, especially the retriever versions in here. But as I showed you also, and you can find on the website, they actually work. They are cashing in quite nicely. So it's entirely up to you. Of course, you click on link to success, and from there on, you'll get more details, information on how exactly you can get started. There is even new accounts, which I haven't covered here today, where you can start with $300. It's all about the lot sizing again, as we spoke about earlier. And from here on, you can then go and have a closer look, see what is actually working, how much they have evolved over time. You have a couple of Excels that we normally download in here. And we normally go to this particular section. So this is not showing up for some reason. There you go. And then that will tell you also the drawdowns it had in the last 8 weeks and exactly how you can do. You will see a lot of our signals in here has with the C. That again means they're cashing in quite nicely, and at the same time they're having very low drawdowns. So I'll make sure that that particular link is also part of the video description in here. So to help you get started after this particular video in here, basically I've taken the Excel that I just showed you on the Expert Forex website. We go and have a look at the floating profit and loss. We basically sort it out, so we don't want to have anything more than $300 in here. We also go total negative weeks in the last 8 weeks. We don't want to have any more than 300 in here either, so we sort that particular one out. Then we also put in return on total drawdown, and we want to have at least 200% on that. We want to have a good return, and then we do this, and again, that will shorten down the list, easy to find, and then we basically put it in for the profits, and you'll see that that actually goes quite high, goes all the way from about 12%, 20, we got 50 here, and then it runs all the way up to about 80% almost, so quite high over the past couple of weeks. It has been a very good and volatile market in here. So, but these are some of the signals. You can start off having a look, And if you go on the site, you simply click the blue 1K link over here, 162C. You'll see all of ours is actually with the C in here. So that makes it a lot easier to understand also, and basically trust the traders that are in there when you actually understand how things have been set up. Now, if you still think, okay, this is too risky, or on the other hand, this is actually not making me enough money, I don't want to just make 8 or 12% every single month, I want to make at least 25. Well, that is a bit unrealistic, and at the same time also a bit scary. But at the end of the day, it will allow you on the CopyLink service, you will actually get a trade receiver, and that also means that you will be able to get the individual signals, and you simply put in the numbers similar to what you have here. The important part is the lot factor you have down here. So 1.0 basically means 1 to 1, means you're doing exactly the same trades as we are. If you think that this is simply too much and you want to have a bit more of a safe trading, you want to have a better sleep at night, then you can put it down to 0.05 instead. So basically half the risk, but you're obviously also halving at the end of the day. You're also halving the profits. On the other hand, if you think that this is going to take you too long, you want to take the risk of actually making some extra money, then you can add a 2 in there instead, and that will then double your profits in here, but of course it would also double your risk. So with this video here, I certainly hope that you now have a very good understanding of how grid trading actually works, how to make it safe, and now also with this particular video in here, how you can make a good amount of cash, nice flow coming in every single week, every single month, hopefully also every single year. And obviously later on in another video here, once I have gone through a couple of these EAs, I will tell you exactly how to set these ones up in portfolios, how also to expand when you are getting money into the accounts. That will be for a different video. What I would like to have, of course, if you can support this channel with a like and a thumbs up, please, and also a comment if you have anything that you want to share your own trading experience. If there's something that is unclear in the video that you want me to cover in the future, or maybe if you have actually seen this particular video here now and go, wow, I want to start the CopyLink trading. I don't really want to have all the hassle of the testing, but now that I know how the trader actually operates and the risk that he's willing to take, and more importantly, not to take, then this is the guy that I want to copy the signals with. And that is obviously entirely up to you, because you and you alone are still very much in charge of your own investment, your own risk. And that's why we have tried to provide you with all the details in this particular video in here. We give you all the data also on our website. Everything is absolutely for free. But make sure also that once you had all the details in here, make sure you give yourselves the tools also. As I mentioned before, you need the tick data, you need a really good VPS. So not only for the live trading, but you also want to do the testing there. I certainly prefer that. I know other people don't, but that is up to you. We do a lot of our testing when trading is actually not running, and we get better results, better data. And then once you have all these things combined, then you need to find a good regulated broker that you can trust, also where you can take your money out at any given time. And that is what I mentioned to you before. IC Market is one of the best ones in here with very low spreads. Black Bull is another one that we have operated with. Both of them, you're getting your money's worth and your money out whenever you want it to. And that is really important to have trust in this particular trading universe. So I hope you liked the video, and hopefully I'll see you on one of the next ones. Bye-bye.